I'm Breeze Newell, and you're watching The B.O.S. Company Presents. How I Learned to Sell Classic Tie-Downs. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. No matter what time of day this video finds you, I hope it finds you well. Breeze here with The B.O.S. Company. We provide customized consulting for businesses and individuals who have the willingness to believe, the desire to grow, and the courage to make it all happen. Our goal is to foster a habitual vision of greatness in all that we encounter, and we're here to serve. It's morning time for me. I have my morning coffee, which means I'm ready to talk to you about classic tie-downs. Here we go. It's a lot of fun selling your customers when you know what you're going to say next, isn't it? It's really, really cool to go into a sales situation knowing that you're a sales master. Wouldn't you agree? You really, really like selling customers when you have a plan, don't you? These are all examples of classic tie-downs. They're statements at the end of a question where the customer is expected to say yes based on how you're asking the question. The broad definition and philosophy behind these classic tie-downs is gaining minor agreements. Basically, what you want to do is you want to envision yourself throughout the sale having like a little basket next to you, a little bag that you're carrying, and you're just filling it with yeses. You're filling it with yeses. You're getting all these yeses to minor agreements throughout the sale, which means at the end, when you ask for the major agreement, which is the sale, they're more apt to say yes. This is based in something called psychological priming, which is planting seeds throughout the sale, getting customers to say yes, 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 to give you all these minor agreements. So at the end, when you ask for the big yes, it's easier for them to say yes. The theory of this is that it's way more effective to plant seeds of agreement in your customer's mind and get them participating than to just tell them that they like something. So there's an old adage in sales, selling isn't telling. You want to question your way to the sell. So if you're asking questions that are basically just statements, but with tie-downs at the end where the customer can agree, then it's more effective than just merely telling them that they like something. This is also based on a old principle in sales, which is if the customer says it's the truth, if you say it, it's a lie. So by you making statements and then tying it down with yeses at the end where the customer's nodding their head or they're agreeing, then it's as if they've said it themselves and it's the truth and they're bought in and they're participatory and they feel like buying is their idea. The oldest tried and true way to make sure that you know that you're being effective with this is the customer's head is on a hinge, it's not on a swivel. So they're agreeing the whole time that you're talking. One of the biggest old rules of thumbs that they used to say is, 100 yeses in 100 minutes and you have a sale, which seems like a lot, but I'm going to show you how these questions work along with future videos where there's other forms of these tie-downs that'll help you with this. This technique really gained popularity in the 70s and 80s. Sales trainers like Tom Hopkins, Charles Roth, Doug Edwards, Zig Ziglar, Joe Verdi, even Socrates way back in the day, they talked about gaining agreement with your customer or with the person you're debating with, in the case of Socrates, by asking questions. And then based on that, you can force a desired response from your customer just because of these agreement questions that you're asking, these tie-downs. So these types of questions have many different names depending on the sales circle that you're running. They're called tie-downs, they're called yes questions, they're called trial closes, test closes, closing questions, agreement questions, value questions. And really what they're designed to do is they're designed to build value and gain agreement while still giving you a sense of control in the sale as the salesperson, but giving the customer a sense of buy-in because they're agreeing with everything you're saying as if it was their idea. So let's talk about the most common examples of these and how they actually work. So the most common examples of yes questions are questions that end in isn't it, wouldn't it, couldn't it, shouldn't it, doesn't it, right, wouldn't you agree, don't you, things like that. You're getting people to agree with you by making a statement of fact or at least a statement that you assume the customer is going to agree with based on your conversation so far, and then you're tying it down with one of those things. We're going to cover different types of tie-downs in future videos because you can fancy these up a little bit and kind of play with the syntax and the structure of where they go in the statement. But for a classic tie-down, which is what we're talking about today, These just go at the end of the sentence. So you say things like, it's a nice day out, isn't it? Or this car has a lot of horsepower, doesn't it? Or you could see the service being valuable to you, couldn't you? And this is a way of getting people to buy in, getting people to understand that what you're telling them makes sense or is valuable or is positive. You're getting minor agreements, so they're little test closes too, especially when you're actually talking about a service or a product. And you're finding out where you're at in the sale as well, because it's very possible and likely that when you ask these questions, people agree, but it's also possible that every once in a while, you push the boundary with something and you say something that you think they're going to agree with, and then they don't, and they say, whoa, pump the brakes. And at that point, you know where you're at in the sale, and you know you have a lot of work to do. So when are these classic tie downs best used? What time of the sale should you be using them? The answer is you can use them from the very beginning, from the very start of an interaction. You can use them all the way through as you're building value, which they're excellent at, and that's really what they're designed for. And then you can even use them when you're negotiating or collaborating on figures. So an example of using something at the very beginning would be in the greeting. You know, it's a nice day out today, isn't it? So you say, hey, my name's Breeze. It's nice to meet you. I'm with the B.O.S.S company. We're a consulting firm here in town. Man, it's a beautiful day out today, isn't it? And people say, yes, it is. So I have my first agreement. I have my first classic tie down put in there to gain agreement. These are also classically used when you're presenting a product or a service or trying to build value in something. So an example of that would be, man, this bike is really going to look good in your garage, isn't it? So you're creating total mental ownership at that point, right? You are assuming the sale. You know, they're looking at a bicycle, you're trying to sell a bike, and you tell them, this will really look good in your garage, won't it? And they're going, yeah, it will. And you're getting that agreement. You're building value in the product. These classic tie downs can also be used when you're negotiating or collaborating on figures with somebody. So you might use a technique that we've learned in the past, right? And have an alternative choice question where you have 3 different options for people. And one is $10 and one's $100 and one's $1,000. And you could point to the one that you think is going to be the best fit for the customer, or the one that you want to sell them, or the one that you think they like most or they're designed to choose. And you'd say that would work, wouldn't it? And you're assuming the sale with a yes question. You're using a tie down there to gain agreement. So a word of caution with these tie downs, you need to mix them up. And so the next video that we'll actually make here is going to be talking about different versions of these tie downs, because you can't always just put them at the end, especially if you're doing a ton of these in a conversation. It's super unnatural. Plus people start to catch on. They'll start to go, what the heck are you even doing? Why are you talking so weird? So it can't just be a bunch of isn't it's, wouldn't it's, couldn't it, shouldn't it's, doesn't it's at the ends of your sentences. It's going to get really weird and awkward. Of course, you're going to mix in open-ended questions. You're going to mix in alternative choice questions, either or questions, things like that. You're just going to have a conversation with another human being. But if you're saying these at the end all the time, it may not be super effective. There's even a school of thought out there that since these have been around now for 50 years, in regular sales circles, that customers have even started to catch on a little bit to this, and they tend to deaf ear it a little bit. It tends to be a little bit less effective than it was, 40, 50 years ago when they were first being introduced into the way that salespeople speak. Chris Voss, for instance, is a really great negotiator. He was a hostage negotiator for the FBI, and he doesn't think that there's hardly any value in yes, but he has different types of tie downs, which are more in the forms of no, which we'll talk about when we get to our enhanced tie down section. That's classic tie downs. To wrap things up, this is gaining agreement from your customer based on the product or service that you're selling through the word yes. So you only really want to ask questions you know that your customer's going to agree with, they're going to say yes to, they're going to nod to, right? You want to question your way to the sell. Selling isn't telling. People buy from people they like, but also if they say it, it's a truth. If you say it, it's a lie. When you get them to agree and say yes, it's as if they're saying it. And that's the value of these questions. You can use them all throughout your process, from the greeting all the way to the close, and then even post-sale, just to endure the customer to you, gain agreement, and get their buy-in. Next time you find yourself involved in a sale with a customer, or you're even in a customer service situation, and you're trying to put out a fire, try some of these classic tie downs. Isn't it, wouldn't it, couldn't it, shouldn't it, doesn't it? Use that when you're leading your employees even to get agreement from them. and you'll be successful. I really appreciate everybody's support watching these videos, learning. I hope that this is valuable to you. If you want to work with the B.O.S. Company, there's going to be information in the show notes here that you can look at, as well as at the end of this video, on how to like, how to subscribe, how to follow us, how to become a client. That way you can work on your business, not just in your business, and let me help you transform your business and change your life. Till next time, cheers.